Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's race between two very stark runners. We have the 4-0 Dustygriff versus the 4-0 pk4787. I am Baka Shinobi, and I am joined by Rex Raoul. How are you doing this evening, Rex?
I'm doing wonderful, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a race between these two runners who really are the cream of the crop. If you want to see people do real excellent Free Enterprise, you've come to the right place.
Oh yeah, these are two top 16 runners from the previous tournament, both of them being seeded and picking their own brackets as well. This is a fun matchup for us. We're going to see some very interesting Free Enterprise tonight. We're going to see some very efficient Free Enterprise, and we might see PK do some very aggressive Free Enterprise, because that's when I think of PK playing Free Enterprise, that's what I think of.
Yeah, PK will fade something if he thinks it'll give him an advantage, whereas Dustygriff, he's usually extremely methodical in his execution, but does everything so efficiently in that it doesn't seem to cost him any time.
Oh yeah, Dusty is a very efficient, methodical player. He is going to go, and if you ever want to see a clinic on how to go and get through a Free Enterprise seed, Dustygriff is usually your person to watch for it, because he will go and be very reliable in getting through his checks, very aggressive. Both these runners, I think, are going to be pretty low on the looting, especially with this Kane start.
Yeah, I mean, Kane is a really interesting character to start with in this flag set. He can equip that dwarf axe that we're given in the starting kit, but he also gets a lot of his spears can be found relatively easily, and if you're doing even a little bit of looting, you're usually going to find something that Kane can swing.
Yeah, we've got a lot of, in this T Wilder set, we've got a lot of things we can find in boxes. We can go and find a Blizzard Spear, which is nice, a Gungnir, which is very nice, White Spear, Defense Swords. All of these are going to be available in those boxes, because while we do have max tier 6 on, all of those weapons are tier 6. The only thing we probably won't find in a box is potentially Ultimate Weapon, the Avenger.
Yeah, that is my personal favorite weapon for Kane, but if you can find some of that other stuff, you might have to go to places that are a little bit out of the way, but I've seen a lot of runners favor going to some of these places that are a little out of the way. You get a little bit more heavily weighted towards the rarer items in those places, or maybe not rarer, but higher tier.
Agreed. That is something that it's very common to see an opening loot route of going to the Watery Pass to pick up just a first room of chests to try and find something nice for your characters. But speaking of characters, of our two random objectives, we have two character objectives: get Cecil and get Rosa.
Yeah, that's going to make things like finding that Earth Crystal a lot more important. Whenever you've got an object or a key item that leads to a potential character, that's going to be what really drives finding those two objectives. And you're going to have to do at least one of them.
Oh yeah, you're really going to go and want to be hunting for your characters, because not only do you need to get Cecil and Rosa, you can also get Fusoya, and Fusoya's a bit of a good character.
Yeah, that goes without saying. After taking a break from Zima Zone 3, he's back in full force here. Also in full force are our runners who are just getting started right now. We get to see that second character and see what the king gives us.
I think we're going to have some characters fighting for that dwarf. Oh my goodness, I don't think we'll be fighting over that dwarf axe for long. We start with the Party Rock, and we are probably going to be looting a certain treasury.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the first place that people go. If you can deck out Kane and Sid from that treasury, you might not have to do a whole lot of other looting. You're going to probably need a little bit more money throughout the game, but with our starting kits, those 10 rune rings can get a lot of money as well.
I agree. There's going to be a starting kit. Here's a question for you, Rex. What would you need to find in that treasury to just go into the treasury, out of the treasury, and straight up Za?
That's tough. Probably, like, if I can find a moon veil, maybe, as well as good equipment. I'd want at least one other item to really help me get through, because Kane, he gets good equipment, but he's got less than 200 HP at this point.
Very true.
Maybe an illusion or a moon veil, something like that.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. But while we're going and running into this treasury, I believe we can go and play some of our favorite games. And shall we play the clip?
Raid that treasury!
And we see that we have gotten a lot of nice things out of there between a Zeus Gauntlet, a White Spear. I think I saw a Protect Ring. We have a
there was also there was also a Rune Axe and a Moon Veil. Like, this is one of the situations I might just go right up there.
You got a lot of nice things. You got a lot of nice defense. That Zeus Gauntlet and White Spear is a lot of good offense, or the Zeus Gauntlet and Rune Axe is good offense. Yeah, you got that would tempt me to go up that tower and see if I could pull a gated character.
Yeah, and it's one of those interesting things with you could put like the ribbon and the Protect Ring on Kayn, and then put like the Zeus Gauntlet and the Rune Axe on Sid, and just try to like utilize him since he's higher level right at the start. Looks like neither of the runners are going to take the bait though. Go back to some other choice destinations. PK is going to make the character check over in Mount Hobbs. Not a bad choice too, because if that's where your Cecil Rosa is, that'll be out of the way as well.
Agreed. And if you're going to go and do some of these checks, we do not have the slingshot turned on, which is something that gives catch-up experience to our runners. So the sooner you get a character, the sooner they start getting experience, the better.
Without a doubt. And we see now getting equipped up as PK, and we're going to see who that character is. Dusty also not going right to Zot. Going to go probably the same place. Yep, there he is, Mount Hobbs.
Yep, and both PK a little ahead on the equipping, while Dusty did go and stop and pick up some Cure 2s and some extra Star Veils. Those are something that nice to go and have. You start with a few Star Veils and a couple Cure 2s, I think, but having extra makes it much easier to go and just burn them.
And the PK sees the character at the top. It is Porum, and we see Mylon and friends up here. Easy enough fight for our runners to dispatch at this point, but Porum definitely not the character you're looking for, especially when you know that there's going to be a Rosa somewhere in the scene.
I agree. I'm Team Ditch Porum, because even if I can't go and catch up Rosa with slingshot experience, I'd still rather have her, because I'd probably be going and saving about 100,000 experience I need. At least probably 200,000 or 300,000 to go and make my Z fight safer, as Porum has very weak HP growth compared to Rosa, which may be a little unfair because Rosa has just kind of bonkers HP growth for a white mage. She easily gets into 2,000 HP for Z levels. It is something where I think she might even beat a couple berserkers for HP growth.
What does bring to the party is she does learn Berserk at a relatively early level, and she does have access to the exit spell without completing the Tower of Zot. But since we've already have the Earth Crystal, that part's kind of irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, that is a good point about Zot, not going and needing to worry about exit once you've completed it if you find that mandatory Rosa, or possibly mandatory Rosa, as you only need to complete 4 of these 5 objectives. One of them can be left unchecked, so you might not get Rosa. She might be somewhere very inconvenient like the Giant.
Now we see Dustygriff going to the Antlion Cave, where PK is doing PK things and going right to Fabul and not even bothering with the Antlion Cave at this time.
Yeah, PK does like to go and fade the Antlion check. I think he likes going and coming back there when he has exit, while Dustygriff is finding a very free boss here, though boss spot's already pretty free, so finding this Water Hag is not necessarily someone's favorite option, because Water Hag, no matter what he has for HP, is going to go down in 3 hits. Honestly, this team can probably go and take out the 1,000 HP faster than it can go and deal with a 3-hit requirement.
You also see Dusty doing what is one of his biggest strengths, utilizing that time in between while the characters are talking to organize his inventory, to put the consumables, the things that he's going to want to access during battle at the top, and just making use of that time that you're normally just sitting around waiting anyways.
And Dusty getting a vanilla Sand Ruby from the Antlion Cave, while PK got a not-so-vanilla hook from Fabul. So Fabul very well could be our way underground.
And both of these checks lead to potential characters, because you get one in Evelyn, and of course the Sand Ruby is where you would find Rosa in the vanilla game.
Yes. So, and both of these are key item gated checks. That is something that is very important, because on these flags you cannot go and pick up Edge or Fasoya without having a key item, or on Hobbs or in Baron Inn, which do not require key items. Any other spot to find a character does require a key item, and it could be for Soya, which is a very big pickup.
Looks like PK ready to go to mount ordeals already. I think all that good gear that we found in the treasury really kind of makes this a much easier check than it might be with just 3 starting characters. But not Cecil or Rosa, but we do find one of those gated characters you mentioned before, Dusty turning in that sand ruby to get Edge.
Definitely nice to have. Edge's spells are being able to go and do the most of anything, because we have the Sineki flag on, which prevents our characters from starting with a normal gear, and Edge is kind of hurt by that because he starts with some very nice gear with a bandana, a black belt, and a silver gauntlet. Definitely some very nice gear for him to have. His weapons are 2 short swords, which isn't much, but when he starts with just a weapon, it's a bit more of a loss.
Indeed. If we say, like, the gated characters, Fusia is great. He is just, even without the gear and without the Sineki flag on, Fusia starts with like a sword robe, and that's really nice. But Edge is really hampered in the early game, but he does have access to that flame spell, which you mentioned is really good at taking away, especially battles where there's multiple monsters in the formation.
And another good thing, Edge can throw things. That Drain Spear, absolutely terrible when used as a weapon for Kain, because Kain, it's a 12% accuracy weapon. You don't hit anything with that. But it's a really high attack power weapon, which when you throw things, it only cares about the attack power, not the accuracy, so you can get some good damage out of throwing that Drain Spear.
But it looks like the trip to Mount Ordeals is going to pay off in spades as PK finds D-Miss in a second fight up here on Mount Ordeals, and so that's going to unlock yet another free key item check, in this one in Mist Village, that you get just by defeating the D-Mist.
Yeah, that is always nice to find that D-Mist. As you mentioned, that is a key item check. This D-Mist can be anywhere, assuming that they're not holding something gating, such as the Darkness Crystal or the Logical Path Underground. Definitely someone you want to go, and the sooner you find them, that is the last boss hunt we need to go and worry about, so the giant becomes much less of a scary place to have, because if you go a long game without finding D-Mist, you're always worried, are they on the giant? Are they on the giant? But Dusty is through that evil wall, getting into this D-Mist fight as PK is just finishing it. So PK is up the Fabul check, Dusty is up the Antlion check, and PK is pretty much up this D-Mist fight. So we have very close runners so far.
Yeah, now Dusty might have a little bit of an edge, might be able to make up a little bit of time by having a little bit more firepower in this team, and you can see that dart on that D-Mist is going to make it. It looks like Dusty's going to try to get this done before the D-Mist turns into its mist form.
And he does, just rips through that D-Mist HP, throwing the Drain Spear for 2,200 damage. That is most of this bot's HP. Dusty skipping the turns into Mist phase, giving him a good bit of time, and finds the Rat Tail, as we see on PK's side.
Yeah, and since PK already has the hook in his possession, he can go ahead and check that out right away as well. So that's nice. Ooh, there is something that you're always a bit scared to see, but ready for it, PK was. It is the Wyvern.
That is Wyvern, another boss you're happy to see early, not because you get anything special from them, but because Wyvern's really good at wiping your party. He shows up, he says hi, and by hi, I mean he mega nukes your party in the first turn.
Yeah, that's just the language of the Wyvern is, say, if you translate hi, it becomes Mega Nuke. So, yeah.
The Song of My People involves burning and scorching your flesh. That is a very unique set of people.
Well, probably doesn't have a ton of friends.
Considering he's locked up on the moon normally across an invisible bridge that the only invisible path that is not highlighted in the entire game, I'm pretty sure the dev said no one wants to meet this guy. Let's just pretend he's not there and no one will find him and he can just stay away from all of us.
So neither of our runners have gotten to Baron Inn yet. There's another character check there that could be our Cecil or Rosa. So that's still on the table. We now have that rat tail check. We have the characters in the Tower of Zot. We've got access to Evelyn. There's so many places that our runners could go. So it's going to be really exciting to see where they decide to go next.
And it looks like PK is going to Baron. I wonder if he's going to make a save here and then go and check that D-Mist. It is easy to forget about killing D-Mist as you do that on Mount Ordeals because, well, second of 3 fights, he's going to get a different key item. That's going to go and throw off your routing. Very easy to forget or delay them for a bit. And we do find Rosa guarded by Kanazo here in the inn.
Now, we've talked about some of the easy fights early that you are kind of sad to get out of the way. This is one of those where you're really glad to get it out of the way in an easy spot. At some places, Kanazo is one of the more difficult bosses in the game.
Yeah, Kanazo's big gimmick is that he will gather water and use the spell called Wave, and that will do 4% of Kanazo's current HP as damage. That spot has 400 HP, not a lot of damage. Some spots have 60,000 HP. That's a lot of damage.
Now, Dusty decided to go and check in that D-Mist right away and finds the Twin Harp, which is what's required to complete objective number 1. So that is a very nice find up there from that D-Mist defeat.
Yeah, and PK going and finishing the Baron and getting Rosa and the Pan. The Pan is a very nice pickup for once you're underground.
Now, if it turns out that one of these other places outside of Fabul grants us the Magma Key, this is something that can really benefit Dustygriff because he's going to be getting this Pan right here. And if he can make it so that he only needs to take one trip to Fabul, that can save a lot of time. However, with that hook being the item that's there, there's a decent chance that that might be our way underground at this time.
Yeah, so far, I mean, we have 3 checks left overworld, which is unusual. We have the Tower of Zot, the Twin Harp, and the Rat Tail. PK has done all of the, except for Antlion Cave, all of the normal vanilla gated check.
PK is still not going to the D-Mist, but is going to go and do that Antlion check that we saw Dusty make early in the game to get that Sand Ruby, which will lead him to Edge.
Definitely going to go and be a helpful thing for PK, as if we have to go down the hook route, you might want Edge for a variety of reasons. He can go and use some decent equipment. You have a few good items for him. And Edge can steal certain helpful items. There is a trap chest on the way down to the boss that it has 4 Mad Ogres in it. That trap chest, with Edge, you can steal Bacchus wines from Mad Ogres thanks to the fact that Boardface, the developer of Free Enterprise, has restored the Jade drop tables to enemies. And when you steal from an enemy, you steal the most common drop from an enemy.
And not only that, but it also gives good experience. Could have a tier 7 piece of equipment in there. And we've got a Rune Axe, which hits the 4 times damage for the Mad Ogres as well. So it's not a particularly dangerous fight, and there's a lot that you could get out of it too.
Agreed. And we have an Assassin Knife on Edge for Dustygriff, which that can go and just instantly kill certain enemies. But Dustygriff is choosing to go straight to music. Seeing as it's an objective and Dusty has a reasonably powerful party, not something I disagree with.
This also makes sense routing-wise because there's another check, the Earth Crystal right now, and so you can kind of, since they're both basically in the same neighborhood, complete this one first. When you walk back, you walk right by Toria. You can use that to go right to the Tower of Zot. So this is efficiency right here.
Yep, and speaking of efficiency, PK is now going and picking up their D-Mist, and I wonder if they're going to choose to go and continue chasing Overworld, or if they're going to try and take a push to the Underworld.
Yeah, that's the other gamble that you can make at this point. And having that Pan in the position makes you kind of want to get to the Underground as well. But it's really tough, especially when you've got things like the Twin Harp, when you've got that Get Cecil objective there, and you've got the Earth Crystal in your possession. But now we're just about time, since we're at the bottom of Cave Magnus, and we've got to listen to a little bit of music. We're going to be a little quiet as we listen to DJ Spoony B's Rockin' Tunes.
Agreed. We have a lot of great tunes made by our one of the developers called Lanity. So let's go and take a good listen to it. And that music was the N64 Rainbow Road theme. A very nice track.
It looks like chat really enjoyed that, and I can't blame them. With the rhythm at first, I thought it was going to be Blaster Master, but this was a nice surprise. I hadn't heard this one yet. It was great.
Same here. This is my first time hearing it. And we see that the reward is the tower key from the Twin Harp. So
we're getting a lot of nice goodies for when we get underground. We find that pan, we find that tower key. These are the sort of things that you want to get in your possession before you make the choice. Do I want to go keyless tower? Do I want to go and trigger Sheila 1? These sort of things. Basically, you're in easy mode for the underground right now as far as what do you want to do.
Yeah, and there's already been 7 key items uncovered between our runners. Both of them are at 6 each, but PK is about to hit number 7. Dusty's going up the tower, and that's a lot of key items. You could possibly be getting double key items or double experience from 10 key items before you go underground.
And we'll let you enjoy it once again.
There's a reprise of the N64 Rainbow Road theme as PK now picking up the tower key and also completing objective number 1. Both of our runners not even finishing the overworld, not still with Shaq's overworld even, and have 2 objectives complete. Definitely looking to be a rather speedy seed.
One thing that we also see is another one of the quote-unquote free fights down the drain. Well, 2 of them really, because we had the King Queen Evelyn down at Cave Magnus, and now the Baron Guards up here, and on the Tower of Zot in the vanilla Magasister spot, making use of that Rune Axe hits that 4 times damage on these guards as well.
Unfortunately, getting hit by the rather low accuracy of this Rune Axe, but Edge cleaning things up with a swoon proc from the Assassin Knife.
Yeah, that is the downside of the axe, is the low hit percent means, especially when you're not in the middle position, which does give you an accuracy boost, you get some real wild variance in the damage amounts that you get.
Yeah, the Rune Axe, very powerful weapon, but only has 60 base accuracy, which is not a lot.
First character up here, the Tower of Zot, is a duplicate Kain, still looking for that Cecil. We also note that in the vanilla Golbez spot at Dwarf Castle is going to be a Lunar Sparkle.
That is some good information, but we do know it's not Wyvern, so the worst could be is probably Ogopogo, or maybe Plague? But Tower of Zot not giving us either objective or a Fusoya, which we'd always like to see from these spots, but a Kain and a Yang.
Dusty not interested in either of them, still deciding to keep Porum in the team over either of those two fighters.
Without Bacchus Wines, Porum is another source of Berserk, and I don't know if Dusty has gotten to level 20 on Rosie yet, where when she learns Berserk, he was at 21. Wow, we are just racking up all the free fights.
Yeah, not a whole lot left. I think just the Kaipo guard fight is the only one that I remember that's left, because we've had Water Hag, and we've had King Queen. Man.
We've had Bahamut as well.
Yes, we have.
There are... And the closest to a free fight I can think of the remaining ones would be the officer soldiers that you mentioned, maybe Dark Elf, because you can go and stop the second form.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing that Assassin Dagger do some more work on both sides. Wound procs across the board, going and taking out these Dark Elves and a Baron Guard.
Yeah, that's real nice. It's one of those things of using what's in your inventory. When you know what you've got available to you and you utilize it like that, it's always fun to see. Assassin Dagger, not one that gets a ton of love in general, but when it's useful, it's very useful.
Yeah, one thing I personally like about the Assassin Dagger is that it does give +5 to Strength, Vitality, and Agility. So I like having that, well, at least one of the, well, up to one of those on an edge, because you get an extra multiplier, and if he has a strong weapon in his other hand, you're going to do some extra damage with it. But Dustygriff is through the Tower of Zot as PK right behind his heels, going to get into that Dark Imps fight very shortly. Ooh.
Matsubune is a nice toy that we get from that, but it does not give any progression. It looks like Dusty's going to have to go to Fabul to get that hook to get underground.
Yeah, and PK already has that in his inventory, so he just needs to complete the... needs to go and complete this tower. It will be free, but will have a very nice weapon for Edge, and probably be on his way underground unless he checks the Rat Tail first.
Yeah, the Rat Tail could have that magma key, and so that would be a faster way underground, but you probably want to make a stop over at Evelyn to see if that character is Cecil.
Cecil or Fusoya, I agree. Definitely want to go and see your character. And PK specifically waiting to cue Edge before he attacks, as there's a status that procs from weapons can be a bit funny. The more filled your ATB, the enemy's ATB bar is, the less likely some statuses are to proc. So by waiting for the imps to all attack before queuing his attack on Edge, you can nearly guarantee that he is going to be able to go and get a proc from that swoon.
The mechanics of Final Fantasy IV are indeed strange.
Lots of that is something I believe that came out of Accident's deep dive into some of the code of Final Fantasy IV.
Yeah, there's been a lot of real work done as far as getting that down, and Accident's been one of the great members of our community who's done that, and people are very willing to share this over on our Discord, so head on over there if you want to learn more about this great game.
I agree. Our Discord is full of really friendly people who like to go and just talk about the game, bring new people in. We have had some people are like Dustygriff, who has been in since near the beginning. He is one of the contenders from the first Highway to the tournaments, the Highway to the Zenith Zone, while PK started getting in around, I believe, the second Highway to the Zenith Zone and really made a big splash in the Fabul Gauntlet. So never too late to get into this. Or you can just play casually on your own.
There's no wrong way to play Free Enterprise. Looks like Dusty might have made a mistake as to where to go.
I think Dusty was
not something you see from Dusty very often.
Dusty was thinking, all right, I have to go to Eblin, and then forgot he's never launched the hovercraft, which PK also hasn't done. So we have both our runners in the same place. We can see exactly what the difference is between our runners. These 12 steps. That they have covered the same ground. They've looted pretty much the same places. Dustygriff looted an extra drain spear, but this is the difference between our runners.
And neither of them have gone to check that rat tail. I wonder if either of them are going to remember about it on their way to Eblin.
Looks like PK is remembering it, as he is not going north, he is going sideways, and Dusty is going the other way, and we'll get to see which of these is slightly more efficient. Dusty's might be slightly more efficient, as he was those 12 steps behind, is now only 3 steps behind.
Bow, very nice weapon overall. The best bow in the game. I consider it Sid's ultimate weapon. Can be used if you want to make Rosa an archer. Very good there, but not progression.
Yep, there's not progression. We have maxed out at 7 key items from the overworld, which is a pretty healthy number of key items.
That is,
get double experience so early.
7 key items before getting underground is huge. That is a large number.
Yeah. I mean, 7 key items at 28 minutes that's an average of 1 key item every 4 minutes.
Now PK doing some menuing time where Dustygriff is able to walk right into Eblin, and so I don't think we're going to be counting leads on number of steps, at least not for a little while. Some nice things in the shop, though.
Yeah, that's a shop that I am more than happy to go and crack open the inventory and say, sell, sell, sell. Pockets wines, life potions, coffins, all helpful things.
And the other thing is this cave has a lot of treasure in it, and only 1 trapped chest. So if you don't have the money based on what's in your inventory right now, you can open some of these chests to afford the goodies in the shop.
Yeah, that is definitely a very helpful thing with just go and throw. We're not going to pick up Iridia, right? Let's just go and sell it Leviathan, or we're going to go and just assume we're not going to be picking up some of these people. A second edge. We have seen 2 of the 3 duplicates in the seed. I have a suspicion we're not picking up the second edge because we are still a bit behind in equipping the first one, I think.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Edge is difficult to equip out. Having 1 is usually very, very nice, but there's a little bit of diminishing returns on a second edge in this particular flag set.
And chat pointing out, the boss down here is a lunar boss. We do know it's not Wyvern because, as I said before, Wyvern has been spotted on Mount Ordeals. So, could be something rather tame, such as Pale Dim, maybe the D-Lunars. Could be Plague, or it could be the very rude Ogopogo.
Yeah, Ogopogo would probably be the rudest. I think D-Lunar is probably the second rudest. Both Pale Dim and Plague, for different reasons, can be relatively easily taken care of, I think, with the parties that we have.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. The D-Lunars, you can also go and get some, if you're able to last long enough, you can go and turn out frog strats with something that was discovered in a tournament during Free Enterprise, it seems, was the D-Lunars don't just cast virus, it seems. If you don't attack them, they will eventually cast breath, and they're not immune to it.
Yeah, so if you can reflect it back onto them using a Star Veil or the Wall spell, they will turn into frogs, and they are very harmless at that point.
I almost feel bad, and then I remember every single time I fought them in the vanilla game and lose that feeling.
Yeah, other than that, this team has kind of ways to deal with them without it. Generally, what you don't want to do on the D-Lunars is just fight right off the bat, because that'll trigger the wall virus script, and that's when they're at their most dangerous. But this party wants to fight as well. That's the, you got the push and pull there. But before we get to that lunar sparkle.
Yeah, speaking of dangerous, Baigen's a real rude fight in this spot.
Yeah, this spot known to hit a lot harder than it feels like you should be hitting at this point in time.
Yeah, that back road sit going and taking 600 and then 700 points of damage. I don't think our Zerkers are going to be long for this world if we have to fight fairly. Oh,
but if we could get the body down fast enough, we just need edge to hit the body.
That is the only edge we can get in this fight, as Baigen is just chewing through party members. But edge is chewed through Baigen, it seems. And Baigen's arm chewed back.
And the explode means that Dusty has survived the fight. No experience, so not a big deal that party members were not alive at the end of the fight. Plus, you get a free heal before the next fight, so...
Yes.
Just surviving is all that's important.
Dusty choosing not to save, feeling confident going into this. And we'll see who we're fighting on this hook route. It's D-Lunars.
All right, we did a little bit of talk about that. Now, there's a couple other things. Even though the fight command is really nasty here, the King's jump command does not count as a fight, so it won't trigger that script. You can get around it by darting with edge. They are also undead, so you can use curative magic to deal damage to them, as well as items like Cure 2s and Cure 3s. So there's a number of things that you can do. This does have a pretty high HP pool at this spot, so I wouldn't be surprised if Lunar Frogs end up being the strategy here as well.
Yeah, it looks to be going in, holding off on edge, looking to jump with Kane to do damage. Because Dusty did pick up extra Star Veils. That might be something that forces a bit of divergence, as PK is going back to save. PK might also just say burn up if you got him when it comes to the Star Veils, and use a few here as well.
Don't fault anybody for going and making a safety save here, especially with that first plate being Baigen. You don't want to have to face that again, because things can go wrong. If Baigen targets your fighters before they are able to take them down, that could be very scary too.
Yep, and for a second there, I thought Dusty hadn't bought extra Star Veils, but no, he had a stack of 3 at the bottom. All 3 going into getting the breath on both Lunar Dragons. Definitely a nice turn of events for Dustygriff, as now he is free to just unload and zerk up his melee fighters.
Yeah, very well use of the Star Veils for the Lunar Frog strategy. Yep, now they are just harmless little frogs. They can only deal single-digit damage, and their physical defense is a lot weaker now, too.
And just as of the nature of the Size and Toad spell, they take double damage from physical attack.
Yeah.
So that is a big bonus. We're going to go and see Edge. Yeah, we see Kane used to do 1,200 damage with a jump, now doing 2,600. Berserk Edge doing the same amount. This is going to go through pretty quickly. Meanwhile, we see PK going and throwing out some flames with their edge, while Dusty just simply waited for this frog paste to come up.
Yeah, this is kind of what you do if you want to try to take them down before then. I think at this HP, I wouldn't be surprised if a PK kind of transitions into the frogs as well. But you can fight them like this without. And if the goal is to take them down before they use breath.
Yep, as they'll have about 12 to 13,000 HP apiece, I think, maybe a bit more than that. But PK trying to go and be cheeky, using Sid's HP as damage here, taking a kamikaze to just hit those D-Lunars.
And Dustygriff has taken down the D-Lunars. So now it's going to be the first of our runners underground at about 3610. Going to be defeating that, and we've got things to do underground. That is for sure.
Yeah. Do you just land into the tower? Do you go and just turn into your pan? Do you go and check the freebie in Feymarch? Do you check shops to see if you can pull sirens? You have options down here, and I think Dusty's going to see what option he has on top of tower. That is either Rubicant or the Elements fight.
PK getting the unfortunate option of only one of the D-Lunars turning into a frog. You know, this is what happens sometimes, especially if you're not able to get the Star Veils up on every single person, but it's all random which one they reflect onto, so sometimes all of them hit just one of the D-Lunars, and you just got to make do at that point.
Yeah, that is unfortunately going to slow down PK because Dusty kind of held off until that point and then just started churning through the fight, berserking up Edge, ripped through with him without problems, and PK is not going to be able to go and berserk up his characters. He has gone and triggered the virus script, but if you trigger the virus script by attacking the frogged entity, or the frog D-Lunar, the wall doesn't succeed, but the other D-Lunar is like, oh yes, we are casting virus now. Allow me to cast virus on my friend, who is totally walled and ready to reflect it back to the opponent.
Dusty going straight to Dwarf Castles. We see the first fight here going to be Dr. Luge, I presume. And then we're going to get a character check after that. Not a surprise that Dusty favors this point first because of that fact, with Cecil still being one of those out there objectives to do. Going to a place that gives you a character check makes a lot of sense.
Yep. And PK is down to one D-Lunar, which, good news, they're not going to go and reflect virus. Bad news, they're going to go and counter everything with Flame. And Flame does 20% of your maximum HP as fire damage, which I believe Rosa has a Protect Ring, which is keeping her alive, as she took markedly less damage than Porum or Kane.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one to finish out at this point.
But this is, again, I think Dustygriff had a bit of better luck in that fight just because he had those extra Star Veils and was able to burn more Star Veils, where PK had fewer options, and I don't know if he had already burned... He did burn one for Wyvern on Mount Ordeals and might not have wanted to go and burn his last one. The event Golbez shows up, someone plays very rude, or just didn't have, or did burn both of them, but didn't go and get the same luck that Dusty did from 3, which... That is unfortunately giving Dustygriff a bit of a lead, as Dustygriff is through the first fight of Dwarf Castle, gonna go and be able to get this character check and get into the second fight.
And I think this is smart from PK, playing very defensively with that Rosa, who's taking, as you mentioned, much less damage due to her gear, and just letting Kane do all the damage with the fire. Don't worry about getting the other characters back up. At this point, you don't want to take the time again.
And there is Cecil, objective number 4 in Dwarf Castle. Plague being the second boss here, not going to go and be an issue, as we have plenty of damage with this team.
And it's finally time to say goodbye to Porum as the Paladin joins the team. And, you know, I'd be very happy to take this group of 5 to Zeramus.
Yeah, this is definitely a Zeramus team. Sid can be a great anchor. The other 3 can go and be just fantastic melee fighters. With the number of items we have, I mean, we have an Artemis bow, so Cecil can go and do damage with that. Just lots of options, but PK is through that D-Lunars fight at about 40 minutes. A little bit behind Dusty, and we know that Dwarf Castle has one objective. Maybe PK is going to scout somewhere else first to see if he can get some other objectives online.
At this point, really, Dusty is a pigtail away from go mode, or well, I guess not quite, because we still need a way to get to Zeramus.
Agreed. That pan is looking pretty tempting, but it would need to go and give either a Pinktail and a Pass or Darkness Crystal, or Legend, Adamant, and a Pass or Darkness Crystal.
We also have a free check in the Feymarch. The Vanilla Rattail chest is a potential key item as well. So there's a lot out there without having to take another fight.
Agreed. And we do get a key item from Dwarf Castle, which I am overlooking, so we'll see if maybe that gives us something. Well, Cecil now has a very solid weapon.
Yeah, Cecil or Kane, whoever you want to have, that's a very good weapon. One of the absolute best for Kane, and a good one for Cecil.
Yeah. Yeah, Cecil is a little favored because, main character of the game. Let's go and give him, Kane's best weapon is the Weight Spear at 106 power. Fensor is second best at 105 attack power with better accuracy. We'll give Cecil a 150 attack power weapon with maximum accuracy. And, oh yeah, let's also give Cecil a 200 attack power weapon with maximum accuracy. And it gives plus 15 strength, vitality, and willpower. And also go and make it holy and make it, quadruple damage against undead. Cecil just really needs that little perk.
Okay, now we're seeing some real divergence as PK is going back into the tower. Might be taking some an alert chest here. This might be an attempt to steal some sirens.
Looks like he's just going straight in. He might just simply want to go and see if he can pull a good key item from this alert. Doesn't quite kill it with Kane, unfortunately, so has to fight the Stoneman. Well, Dusty gets the spoon from the Sylphs. That is one key item, putting him at 8, I believe. Not progression, but inching ever closer to that 10 key item line. PK is through that alert, and we'll see if he gets anything good for it.
Meanwhile, Dusty climbing down through the Fey March. Going to be getting a free key item check very shortly. Might also be peeking the shop and the bosses down here as well.
Yeah,
one thing that I find...
Oh, go ahead.
One thing I find interesting is we see these runners, they're doing some item shop checks, but really one thing that we're not seeing are equipment shops.
Yeah, these runners are very just trying to cut down everything, finding illusions, finding... Exits are a fair bit less relevant because we have Rose in the party, and we have completed Zot, but illusions can be very powerful items. Going and healing up the team, it looks like maybe going into potentially take a fight down here. And Dusty did pull the Darkness Crystal from that free chest, so there is the way to the moon. We are 1 to 2 key items away from go mode.
Now, where those are is going to be all the difference as far as the rest of this seed.
Read. As the way to the Zeromus is free, if we got a pink tail from this tower, PK is in great position. If PK also managed to pull Adamant and Legend, he's in great position. If Pan doesn't pay out for Dusty, that could be scary. All sorts of small divergencies that can really go and just change the order of the seed. And we find 1 or 2 free bosses, depending on how you think about it.
I don't know. Have you seen any hourglasses? I don't think I saw any that... I definitely don't think there were any in shops, but I don't know if there were any in chests. But that can make that dolls fight really easy. This other one, though, this is the Kaipo fight. This is that free fight that we knew that was still waiting out there.
Would you like to use a coffin?
Well, 1 coffin is all you need in order to defeat this fight. If you want to get more experience, you can coffin and life glitch other things as well. But yeah, at this point, there's nothing else you have to do. The coffins just make it faster now.
Yep. Dusty just decided, nope, we're not going to go and do anything. We're just going to go and kill them. Death is a good enough element as the soldiers, without a leader, choose to make interesting decisions in the form of attacking themselves. And meanwhile, we see that PK has beaten Rubicant. Would you like to gear up your edge? Here, have some Hanzo steel, but not the good kind.
And the experience and the gear is enough for PK to say, yep, I'll keep this. Plus, we've got the tower key check as well. So oftentimes in a situation like this, you'll see the runner reset because you just don't want to walk out. But especially with that tower key check on the way down, you don't really have the opportunity to reset and save time like that. So PK going to have to walk.
Yep. And PK is saving the event that we find something rude in that tower. Oh. Dustygriff not even need to forge to find a weapon for that Excalibur Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, well, Super Cecil is online now. I figure if you got either the Excalibur or the Crystal Sword, you're in Super Cecil mode. Yeah, Dustygriff now gone from a very good team to a very powerful team.
Yeah, Dusty is just getting more and more powerful and choosing to leave the underground at this point, and probably turn in that pan just because he knows he is a pink tail away from go mode. If Sheila also gives the adamant and legend, he's in go mode. Doesn't want to sit on any checks, and I cannot blame him for that.
Yeah, and that Dolls fight just might be, if he doesn't have an hourglass in hand, that could go a little bit tricky at that fight at these levels. You definitely do not want to see Big Doll. That Big Doll will wreck you in the Leviathan spot.
Yeah, that spot hits very hard, and it is very so not shy about doing it. PK did find Octomam in the Super Cannon, not an awful boss, and is going to be leaving this tower to get a second key item.
And now we're going to see if Sheila has the goods. A white spear. We've got plenty of good stuff for Kane right now, so that's not it. But the Baron key, that opens up some more doors.
That it does. I don't think Dusty wants that because that's yet another rabbit hole to go down, and I don't know if Dusty's going to feel pressured to do this tower because it's 2 key item checks to Baron's also 2 key item checks, but Baron has more cutscenes in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see either way. Since you're already in the overworld, you might want to do Baron. But it looks like Dusty wants to go back underground. This is probably a tower check then.
Yeah, tower is the last check Dusty has underground outside of those dolls, and saving at the bottom of the tower just looks to be ready to go straight in. And I didn't see what item we got from
it was a Bahamut summon, so no key items from the tower. And so now that's a good thing for PK because Dusty is now climbing the tower, and this is all time that PK can use to make up basically whatever Dusty did. PK, or whatever Dusty's going to do, PK has already done. So he's not losing more time to Dustygriff right now because of that.
Yes, as Dusty's walking the tower, we know is just going to give him a Murasame and a Bahamut summon, and PK is going to go and turn in this pan to get the defense sword and the defense sword. The spoon, right, was from here, and potentially that Baron key when he goes back to Sheila too. Let's go and take a moment to shout out our Restream team. We have Gundam Pilot Spaz on Restream and Possum Morpheus going in and clicking the buttons for tracking. Possum Morpheus, stop eating the buttons as our tracker, as I was saying. And I would also like to thank Rick's Roll for going and joining me in commentary, as we need all these lovely people to help us put on a show.
And I'll reciprocate that and say thank you for joining me, Dr. Shinobi.
Always glad. It is always fun, and if joining these races and helping out looks fun to you, we do have a sign up on our Discord if you wish to go and help out as well. And let's also thank our runners for going and putting on a great show for us. We've had an exciting race so far, and we have not really let up until this point.
This has been a really close race. That little bit of a hiccup at the end of the Lunar Dragons fight is really the main difference in this. And that was basically just bad luck to hit PK on that one.
Yeah, that's just Dusty being able to burn a few extra star veils might have been a big thing that gave Dusty the extra bit of luck to get both the frogs on the first one. And that is against 2 good runners like this. Some of those small divergences could make the big difference because Dusty was behind for a lot of the overworld. PK was going and getting the checks faster or slightly ahead because Dusty took the time to go and check a shop, but he did get paid off on that Lunar's fight. It is a very delicate balance.
And now it looks like PK heading over to Baron after collecting that key. So he's going to be the first to see these. Now, it is important to remember that PK still has not done that Dwarf Castle, does not have access to a Cecil. But we see him making a save here. So this might be a Dwarf Castle check to see specifically if this is the character. I think this is heads up. He's not going to end up using this reset because he's going to keep Cecil. But I do like this is like just runner IQ of knowing what tools you have available to you. And the save and reset is a tool that's available to our runners.
Yeah, that is very good routing, knowing that PK wants to prioritize his character checks because he still needs a character. Baron is a good character check, but Dwarf Castle is probably a little bit faster and definitely more open. He doesn't know how soon Dusty is turned in the pan. he knows that Dustygriff has probably gone and peaked Dwarf Castle at this point. So going to Dwarf Castle first is the safer play, as it guarantees if Cecil's here, he's not going to be falling further behind. And if Cecil isn't here, he can go straight back and check Baron Castle to potentially cut down the number of key items he needs to search for.
And PK had already peaked this boss before, saw the sprite was Dr. Luge, and so knew to equip that Thunderclaw before entering the fight. So Edge is going to be extremely useful throughout this fight as well. So just trying to take every advantage to make this Dwarf Castle fight go as quickly as possible.
Yeah, both Belknob and the second form of Dr. Luge count as machine-type enemies, and while they're not explicitly weak to thunder, the Thunderclaw exploits the weakness of machine-type enemies.
Yeah, very useful there. Unfortunately, I don't know if that Edge's back row glitched. So we might see a row swap. Yeah, see Sid starting to do the dance, so that'll help out too.
Yep, and it's very easy to take for granted back rowing certain characters because, Edge will go and he's pretty easy to back row. You just need to get a boomerang or a full moon. And PK, do you have a boomerang or full moon? It's unfortunately very easy, and Edge is going to start in the back row again the next fight, which is a bit of a disadvantage for this Dr. Luge. We are seeing the Balnob Z form, but I think we're going to see it go down. Oh, this form is not machine, but Kane and Edge chewing through his HP quickly.
The one advantage of this fight is the Dr. Luge, all the forms of it together add up to the total HP in this spot, which is pretty high to start because we got all the dolls and the big dolls added up together. But it makes it so that it's none of the stages of the Dr. Luge fight are particularly long.
Yes, but Edge is going and getting slept on this, which is a little unfortunate. Edge was going to go and do some extra damage to this form of Dr. Luge, but is asleep and not going to be doing that now.
Yeah, luckily we still have Kane who can do a decent amount of damage, so it's not going to be the worst, but it is unfortunate for sure.
Yeah, and we see Dustygriff has done some shopping and is going into Baron Castle now, so about this check ahead of PK, as PK is unfortunately taking a bit more time on this Dr. Luge than Dusty did, which...
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. That sleep really made it so that we had to wait a bit longer. I believe Dusty was able to beat that second form before the poison hit, so that, everything went perfectly well for Dusty during that fight.
Yeah, that was definitely... Things went very nicely for Dustygriff.
But PK is going to get the good news, or I don't know if he's going to think it's great news at this point, but he will at least get Objective 4 completed as he finds Cecil here.
And he is also going and getting rid of Porum, because when you have the best white mage in the game, you don't need the fourth best white mage in the game.
Exactly.
And play probably not going to be an issue for PK either. Meanwhile, Dusty is re-meeting Queen Ashura, who gave him the gave both the runners the starting key item. And we still have the Rune Axe, but I don't know if we're going to be too worried about that.
Yeah, I don't think Dusty is too concerned at this point. Those random tier 4s are a bit annoying, however.
Chad asking, who's fourth best? Who's third best? Anyone with a lot of HP in tier 3s.
Tier 3s do a lot of work in the Zeromus fight.
It is, it's very easy to... Unfortunately, unless you're willing to go and nerf Big Bangs, which can be very technical and somewhat dicey as you do go and draw counter nukes, Forum is hard-pressed to survive in the Zeromus fight.
Yeah, unless you're spending a lot of time grinding beforehand.
Yeah, my thoughts of Porum is, I'm not going to grind to 2000 HP, I'll grind to Holy and just do enough damage that I don't see a second Big Bang.
Yeah.
There's Dustygriff back rowing their Cecil, and I think we're going to be seeing the damage coming out on Dustygriff's side. PK taking a look at the Dwarf Armor Shop, not finding some things like ninja shirts and black belts, but not finding the thing he probably wants, which is a cursed ring.
Yeah, that's generally, if you're going to look for something in an equipment shop in this flag set, it's generally going to be that curse ring. Just the ability to manipulate your own agility to better suit the fights is always welcome, and the curse ring is the best at doing that.
Yep, and speaking of the best boss in the game, Ogopogo, he's not the best boss in the game, he's the one who's the most usually, is on the Baron Throne, takes off half this team's HP, but Dustygriff did take the time to heal up after that fight, so was not completely decimated by that big wave, and turns the table and decimates this Ogopogo.
Yeah, if Dusty hadn't healed before, then this Ogopogo could have been bad news. But as it stands, Ogs to the Pogues goes down, and yeah, we're going to get another character here and a key item check. Meanwhile, PK going to the Feymarch.
Going to be getting their Darkness Crystal, and we find Palom, which, nice character, not unfortunately what you want to see when you have Rosa and 4 Berserkers.
Yeah, at this point, like Black Magic, it's nice, but you got to Cecil with an Excalibur.
The biggest argument I can make for going and taking that Palom is that Palom with Quake is a reliable way of going and dealing with those dolls in Feymarch, but those Hourglass 2s are probably going to do a bit better job.
Yeah, I imagine with Hourglass, if you feel like you have to go back to the Feymarch, you've got it in there, but you probably don't have to do it anyways.
Yeah, there's a very good chance that you never have to go back and check that Feymarch. If only because we have 2 key items. Well, 2 paths to victory.
Right. Oh, that's the magma key.
Well, bright side for Dustygriff. That is key item number 10. Double experience is now turned online for Dustygriff. Might not be progress, but it is a good consolation prize.
Well, if we see PK peek the bosses and decide to walk back up, it means that he's going to fight, well, probably at least the one that we saw Dusty beat. We'll see if PK goes after those dolls as well, because if those dolls have the pink tail, then suddenly PK shoots right into the lead.
Oh yeah, that's... Dustygriff is a bit ahead on checks, but he is way ahead on... Dustygriff is definitely ahead, or where it's hard. PK can get way ahead as soon as he finds a pink tail, and if he gets a crystal first, that is not good.
Dustygriff finding Dark Elf in the vanilla Odin spot. This should not be a terribly difficult fight for Dusty with the levels that he's got on his team right now.
Yeah, and Dark Elf also has a special property to him called Weakness to Holy Element.
And that Excalibur has a unique trait in that it is holy.
Dark Elf is going to go and, that Excalibur goes and puts a lot of really interesting holes in that Dark Elf.
Yeah, this Dark Dragon is not long for the world here.
He just wanted the Earth Crystal to go and have everlasting life, and instead he's found that, well, it's not everlasting pain. It's at least very quick. 2 swings from the Excalibur and Dark Elf is down. Not progress, but...
We just get more and more powerful with these Cecils and Canes and Edge, too, with that Mirasami found in the tower as well. Like, our fighters are very strong.
Dustygriff, I believe, has completed every check available on Earth, and
except for the dolls.
Yes, except for the dolls. I definitely correct on that. And PK can sneak ahead by taking that and getting rewarded.
Yeah, I don't imagine Dustygriff goes back to the Feymarch right now.
No, I think Dustygriff is thinking, the moon is a great place. I can go and get obscene amounts of levels. I can go and do obscene amounts of damage with all the stuff that I have. Oh, Dusty is going back underground, and I don't think there's anything else here, but maybe just picking up some more items here.
Yeah, that's what I believe this is where the hourglasses were.
Yes, you are correct.
I always remember Tomra. It's my favorite town. Even if our runners do not check the job dwarf, I don't understand that.
Our runners are against runners of PK and Dustygriff's caliber. It's really hard to justify giving up time. But we see PK deciding to go straight to the moon while Dustygriff is going down to take on the dolls.
Wow, this is just the opposite of what I thought was going to happen, and it's great. Dusty buying those extra hourglasses specifically to take on these dolls, whereas PK is bypassing Baron to go to the moon, and this could really, since Baron ended up to be pretty much a bust, this is the move that could put PK in the lead, but there's still that possibility of the pink tail being behind these dolls. This is just so crazy right now. I love it.
Oh yeah, PK loves his aggression, so this is definitely an aggressive play from PK, and Dusty loves his thoroughness, so I am not terribly surprised by Dusty coming back here and choosing, I don't want to go and lose to dolls pink tail. Yeah, words, yes. Pink tail on the dolls. Let's go and clean this up and go to the moon, while PK is, Baron's awful, I hate that place. Let's just go to the moon.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this fight. I'm also excited to see, even if it's not the pink tail, if it ends up being the adamant or adamant or legend sword, that could be big. If it ends up being Luca Key, that's another one that could be an X factor.
Luca Key could be very scary. I mean, the worst thing for PK is if these dolls are either part of Forge or the pink tail, as that definitely gives Dusty a solid lead, but you can still get pink tail on the moon, which would be awful for Dust. PK going and getting into the lunar dais, going to see this give us the first check of this character who, I mean, we still haven't, I don't believe I've seen our 10th yet, so it could be a Fusoya. Okay, it's Fusoya.
That's another interesting choice here. Our team is made up pretty good. Sid is a pretty good anchor, especially since we've already got that Dwarf Axe. Would you ditch somebody for Fusia? You get a lot out of Fusia. And there goes Kane.
And there is the adamant from the dolls. Oh my.
Wow.
Dusty is one key item away from go mode. PK is a pink tail away from go mode. Pink tail is, oh goodness, it's not even guaranteed to be on the moon because of the Luca Key. If the pink tail's behind the Luca Key, PK is in a bad spot. But if it's just straight on the moon, he's in a good spot because he's going to be getting there before Dusty. Dusty, however, only needs one key item and isn't good to go. And Dusty is going into the lower
He's going to steal some sirens. Ooh, that is an interesting choice to farm sirens right now. I mean, you don't want to be caught going without... I guess if you figure you want to get one or two, and then you could just do like one or two Gold Dragon or Warlock fights on the moon, and that's all you're going to need for grinding, really, right?
Yep. So maybe he forgot to take off that Avenger from Cecil and got, I mean, life staff, kind of nice. Don't know if he's going to go and be checking for trying to get more key items or something, or if he's going to go, yes, he is menuing and swapping off that Avenger. He is definitely going to go and take some sirens, while PK is just charging straight down to the bottom of this moon, dumped one of his Berserkers in favor of going and getting Fusoya.
Well, kind of, because if he wants to, he's got that Artemis bow, which Rosa can use, so if you want to have 4 Berserkers, you could still go with that if you want.
True. PK now going and finally giving Cecil his true Holy Sword, while Rosa is just going to go and heal the party. PK not going to do any grinding. Probably going to go and be leaning on this Fusoya for taking out this moon.
Imagine, yeah.
While Dustygriff is going and getting everything he needs to go and have a grind and just have a very lovely, well-leveled party if he needs it.
Ooh, Mylon Z in the vanilla D-Lunar spot. This place has a lot of hit points. It hits relatively hard, but Mylon Z is not particularly scary, especially this is another one where you've got a Holy Sword.
Holy Sword does extraordinary amounts of damage to things that are weak to Holy, it seems. Which, fun fact, D-Lunars are one of the few undead enemies in the game that are not weak to Holy. So if you ever notice a discrepancy in damage between the Excalibur and the Crystal Sword, it's because the Crystal Sword gets an extra multiplier while the Excalibur does not.
The stat boosts are that good on the Crystal Sword.
Yeah, and we see Dustygriff has picked up those sirens and is moving. Looks like they're going to be going and getting in the right airship and is going to be heading to the moon now, while PK is just taking checks on the moon. It's going to be very interesting if Dustygriff is lost this race off the back of getting prepared for the moon and clearing Baron, while PK just said YOLO and gets rewarded.
And having access to Fusia really benefited in this fight, not only the extra damage from the nukes, but having access to somebody else who can use heal spells, somebody else who has access to Berserk, has access to Blink. All of that came into play right there.
And PK, not getting progression, but getting extraordinary amounts of damage in the form of a Crystal Sword. White Shirt's not bad, but Crystal Sword... that's the 200 damage, 200 attack power, plus 15 strength weapon I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, plus this is going to make Rosa just an extraordinary white mage with that white shirt as well. Couple very good pieces of equipment, but we'll see what routing Dusty takes on the moon. If he ends up going the same route as PK or goes top down or maybe hits Cape Bahamut first. There's different players prefer different routes when they get on the moon.
Yeah, Dusty, it looks to be going to Cape Bahamut, maybe playing burning some sirens there as we find Valvalis in the lake spot. Could be a nasty boss, but that Crystal Sword is going to do pretty good damage. Though still reduced damage as Val has some level of physical evade here.
Yeah, a little bit. It can be a little bit upset that you just ditched your cane for this, but having a spoon to dart helps a lot as well.
Yes. Answer a question from chat. So do we know this Pinktail's on the moon? Kind of. We know that at least the Legend Sword or the Pinktail is directly on the moon, and it could be that the Legend Sword or Pinktail is behind the Luca key, which is the only remaining chain. What we also know is that the Adamant was on Earth and the doll, so the worst thing for PK to find is the Legend Sword, as he will not go and be completing that.
And so I think that was a lunar sparkle that we saw on the Bahamut altar. And now Dusty using those sirens here for these Gold Dragon or King Ryu fights. And does he have a Dragoon Spear? Is that what he's using? Or
I think he's just probably going to be relying on that Excalibur. PK
that works
only getting a silver apple from the White Spear altar, so Bottom of the Moon currently not paying out for PK, going to the Ogopogo altar shortly, and we'll see if that pays out for PK.
And this is the level of dedication you have when you reset out of that Valvalis fight because it didn't give you what you want, just because that extra few seconds of starting from where you were at, not having to heal, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
that's what the difference is.
Yeah, that is definitely something where not having to heal can be a big difference. Ooh, CPU is not a fun fight. Also, another benefit of resetting out, PK has a spoon that he darted on that Valvalis fight back, which can be very helpful on the CPU fight.
Good point. Getting that CPU down as quickly as possible is very important. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that spoon be darted again. We might even see a Medio out of Fusia in that spot. I love using Medio against CPU personally, but I know different players play CPU differently as well.
Yep, but PK is going to go for not quite YOLO strats, but safer YOLO strats. Berserking Sid, but casting Blink on the attacker. This will go and let Cecil swing at the attacker, but not kill it, which will give you some extra time to prevent the Globe 199 from coming out.
Yeah, it's an interesting play. And now the Medio is getting queued up too, so
PK might have just decided, I want to stall for a little bit of time, but isn't a full commit, though Cecil seems to be full committing to that front node, as 2 for 2 on swings on CPU and swings on the node, but as soon as CPU hits that node, it is probably going to go down very quickly. There it goes. So the CPU is now primed to cast Globe 199, which is an extremely high power magic spell that will probably just simply do quad 9s to anyone it hits.
That's the end of it. That Globe 199 is going to wreck you. But we've got a couple users of white magic, so you can recover from that. And the CPU is down. If this isn't progression, I imagine we'll see another reset for PK here.
Yeah, probably once it's... Oh, it's the Luca key.
You can't reset out of that.
Yeah, you got to commit to getting rid of that spoon, but of the remaining fights, I don't think there are many fights I would be more happy to have used my spoon on than CPU or Valvalis.
And, we mentioned before that either the Legend or the Pinktail has to be in here. But the main reason that PK specifically can't reset out of that Luca key is PK hasn't completed Baron either. So there's just too many things up in the air for you to leave that Luca key off the table.
Yeah. You have to go and have that Luca key. It could go and... for all PK knows, it could go and be Adamant on the Moon, Legend Sword behind Luca key. We know that's not the case, but...
Right.
PK is playing fast and loose, while Dusty is very diligently grinding. He is still going and getting levels on his characters. Dusty, I believe, is banking very hard on, as soon as I find the last key item, I am going.
Yeah, doesn't want to have to wait after finding that crystal to get to the point where he's ready for Zeramus. Like, all bosses and Zeramus should all be ready to be done after this grind is what it looks like Dusty's plans. I saw Galvez, so I had Galvez on the mind.
PK finding all the fun fights at the bottom of the moon. If I was going to go and name a trifecta of slow fights, Golbez, Valvalis, and CPU would certainly be them, as Golbez likes to laugh at you, kill off your party until you're down to 2 characters, and then cast spells on you until, he does enough damage, not to kill him, but until you activate a script for him to go and say, well, I guess I'm done now.
Meanwhile, Dustygriff finds the other Lunar Sparkle up here. It's Pale Dim. I don't think he's going to lose this fight, but this is a very strong physical attack spot, and basically all Pale Dim does, unless you provoke it the wrong way, is physical attacks. And he's able to one-shot Edge even after the grind. That is a strong thing, but we've got Blink in the arsenal. That helps a lot.
Yep. But we do see PK does have Cecil up. Doesn't have a Starveil up on Cecil, but the magic here, the Lit 3, only does 800 damage. Cecil is going to go and do lots of damage to this Golbez, so PK might be able to get through this by just doing crap tons of damage with that Excalibur. Yeah, quad 9s off an Excalibur is a lot of damage.
That Vanilla Wyvern spot, not high magic power, very high physical power. Golbez uses magic.
And Cecil and Rosa looking to be gaining experience. Those are 2 of the big important people for this fight. And PK receives the Legend Sword. Pinktail is either at Cave Bahamut. Oh, Cave... Pinktail is either at the Luca Key, Cave Bahamut, or the top of the moon, and Dustygriff might be going top down with this Bahamut play.
That's the pass, so it's still anyone's game at this point. This is crazy. And we are getting down to it.
And Dustygriff leaves. Dusty is much higher level than PK, but PK might be able to go and pull out a win if he's able to go and get Pinktail right here.
Especially if Dusty goes bottom up. If Dusty goes to the bottom, then I think that puts PK in a pretty good spot. It kind of depends. If this ends up being the Pinktail, then it's great for PK. If that Pinktail is at the bottom of the sealed cave, then that might swing things back to Dusty because of all the time it will take. And plus, as you mentioned, Dusty's levels are much higher than PK's.
Yeah. And so we know that the Legend Sword was from the Wyvern Altar.
Yep.
Ogopogo spot had the Luca Key.
Yeah.
This is Either package or Pinktail.
Ooh, that is kind of a rude one to fight here. Get those cures queued up. You just need to have one character survive this.
Yeah, and Rosa's got Cure 4 on the team, it looks like. No, that was a single targeted Cure 4.
Oh.
And the team goes down.
No!
PK takes a reset.
Wow!
So Dusty and PK are dueling, and Dusty has a significant advantage over PK, not just because he has the adamant, but he also has the pass from Cave Bahamut.
That's true. Oh, you're right. That is huge.
There are two ways to get to Zeromus. The first is the vanilla way of having the Darkness Crystal to walk into this lunar subterranean, to walk all the way to the bottom of the lunar core and face Zeromus. The second is having the pass to use at the Pub Mentoria, which instead of sending you to a rather risque show, will go and send you directly to Zeromus, cutting out a 2-minute walk.
And meanwhile, PK has to do it again. Dustygriff has decided to go top down, so they're going to be in this Payman fight at the same time, but Dusty's got significantly more HP on his team. He's going to be able to tank these hits.
Yep. And answer question from chat. Demist was found. Demist was at the back attack spot on Mount Ordeals and gave the Twin Heart. Everything on Earth has been checked except for the Luca Cave. Baron did not give any key items. We have the Adamant, which is from the Dulls in Feymarch, which Dusty went back and did, but PK faded. PK has also faded Baron Castle. But from the bottom of the moon, he has this Luca key, and we get the Pinktail. We will have competing go modes, but Dustygriff is higher leveled and has a pass. Dusty is level 50. PK is level 40s. PK, however, is if there's someone who's going to make a mid-40s fight work, it's PK, because he will happily do that with a Crystal Sword. PK has the Crystal Sword to Dusty merely having an Avenger or a Excalibur, but Dusty has a distinct edge at this moment. But Dusty is getting bailed out by the fact that PK cleared the entire moon, and the last two spots PK did gave progression towards an objective. The Wyvern Altar gave the Legend Sword, and this Murasame Altar gave the Pinktail.
Also, the fact that PK took that unfortunate wipe against Dark Knight Cecil the first time there, that's just extra time. Like beforehand, it could have been like, if something bad happens in Dusty's Zeromus fight, PK could clean it up. Now I don't even know if that's possible. Like, it's going to be really tough, I think, for PK at this point.
Dusty is also super unlikely to go and lose a second Avenger for a team for Dusty, who still has Kane, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think he took that Fusia, since he grinded up everybody to exactly where he wanted them.
Yeah, that's Dusty's got the crystal, Dusty's got the pass, Dusty's at Toria and is going to go real fast.
Yeah, PK is not going to be much behind. PK's aggressive plays almost did it. But the unfortunate Dusty going top down instead of bottom up ended up hurting PK. But I mean, this kind of shows you just the methodological, just destruction of the seed. Dusty did almost everything on the blue planet before going there, and it paid off in spades.
And what's ironic is that we said that Dusty was the more thorough player and PK was the more aggressive one. Dusty's technically done one less check than PK, as Dusty did 2 checks in Baron Castle, the Dolls, and Cape Bahamut, while PK did 5 checks in the form of the Ribbon Room, giving 2, the White Spear Altar, the Ogopogo spot, and the Crystal Sword Altar.
But there was also the grind to be thought about as well, and I think that ended up being a really big factor too. It made that Dark Knight Cecil fight a lot easier, and now look at these HP totals for the Zeromus fight for Dusty.
Yeah, we are not going to... there are very Big Bang and Demito could still kill this team, but that is going to be real hard. But the real question is, who is going to be trying to kill this team? As we have 526 different Zoroma sprites, and we're about to see which one we're getting.
Yeah, it is butt time. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
And I don't know how bad I'll feel for this butt facing Dusty's team. Oh, Edgeworth is... I mean, okay, fine. He's a bit of an antagonistic jerk. A lot of an antagonistic jerk for a lot of the time you speak with him. But, you know, I feel a little bad for him, not only because Dusty's team is level 50 and completely absurd levels of gear.
No, sometimes when he smiles and his palm up in that position there, he's pretty smug.
He is real smug, but I mean, he deserves it a lot of time. He's usually right. Not always, because he still beat him a lot, but he usually has a point.
And we see both Avengers in play here. Not a whole lot that Dusty has to do, as he can just rest, wait until Rosa needs to cure somebody.
Yeah, Dusty is going to go and be probably doing as little as possible to avoid going and getting animations, unnecessary animations playing. Going and swapping the Rune Axe onto Sid and going to go and down a Bacchus Wine. Just
up to Quad Zerkers.
Yep. Z is going to go and face a lot of steel. Meanwhile, PK is walking down to the lunar subterranean with the markedly less grinded team, but is the proud owner of a Crystal Sword Cecil, and might only have one person to use the two Avengers, but he does also have Fasoya with him.
Yeah, there's really nothing wrong with PK's team. It's just not as absurdly powerful as Dusty's.
Yeah, I mean, PK might be able to pull out a bit more damage thanks to that. Alright, so Dusty just decided to go and berserk his Rosa, which I am amused by.
Big Quince.
Dusty's just saying, alright, we're done healing. We are going full damage. Let's go. But as I was trying to say, PK might be able to pull a bit of extra damage with that Crystal Sword. That is... Crystal Sword is real strong.
Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be enough to quite beat Dusty here, as we're getting close to the end.
Yeah, this Zeromus has gone and tried to Big Bang at least twice, but only succeeded once, because after he shakes and doesn't do a Big Bang, that means that Zeromus has refilled his HP and starting back over from effectively zero, and we see rocks on Dusty's side. Cannot get the Wombo combo, and there is unfortunately no way for PK to come back from this, as Dusty is going to completely destroy this Zeromus in one or two more rounds of his team.
Yeah, and just a few things that went wrong for PK that went right for Dusty in this, as we see Edgemus start crumbling down. Dusty takes the win at this 4-0 level, moving to 5-0 at a time of 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 46 seconds. Big GG's to Dustygriff, who just did a number on this seed.
Yeah, this seed did not have much of a chance, and we are joined by Dustygriff now. GG's on your victory, Dusty. How were your feelings when you went top down to discover the pass and the pink tail?
Pretty mixed, I would say. Just because I had done every single other thing on the over and underworld, and the only advantage I was hoping for was picking up that adamant from Dolls, because I thought PK might fade that. And I was like, if I can find that Legend Sword pretty early on Moon, that might be nice. But seeing the pink tail there was kind of like, oh, has PK been here already? And is he like at Zeromus now? It was felt very ominous, I suppose, to pick that up. So yeah, it was a bit of a thing.
Yeah, this is PK did technically get to that spot first, but he did go bottom up and found the Legend Sword at the, I believe, Crystal Sword altar.
Right.
And also took one wipe to that DKC because he didn't quite have enough HP on some of his characters. He did not do the grind you did. What pushed you to do that grind as thoroughly as you did on the moon?
Where I hadn't found sirens yet, and I was quickly heading towards the end part of the game and not sure how much I'd have to clear on moon, I kind of wanted to provide myself a bit of leeway or like breathing room to be able to say I could just go into fights, throw on my Avengers, I guess Avengers at the end of the game, and just let the damage roll out. It makes things a lot easier when you can just sit back and let your fights play out for you rather than having to do a lot of actions in fights, because A, a lot of actions eats time, and B, it's possible that you'll wipe. So yeah, it kind of goes back to how I am quite a bit of a conservative player, but yeah, that scene was talking with PK in the race room, and that scene was absolutely blazing fast at the beginning. So it was like, it felt good, but it also felt like, well, I'm racing PK and I know he's also really fast. So yeah, it was really interesting to just run in that one and, you know, be done almost everything in the overworld in like 28 minutes or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was rather interesting to see, as you were, when you had finished Baron Castle, we thought you were going to be going to the moon and PK might be going and doing dolls, as he was just cleaning up that officer soldier fight in Feymarch.
Right.
But both of you flipped. You went down into Feymarch to clean out those dolls with those hourglasses you found in Tomra, and PK decided, I'm out of here. Even if I have some levels, I'm going to go to the moon. And PK started with a bottom-up clear, and the bottom of the moon was not terribly kind. It was definitely a number of fights that you were happy not to see, I believe, because
that was definitely a big part of why I didn't go there, because we had seen so much we had seen basically all the free fights already, and yeah, it was getting to a point of, oh god, there's going to be a lot of nasty stuff on the moon here, so I'm going to play this really safe, prep, and do it like appropriately for my playstyle.
Yeah, the most free encounter on the bottom of the moon was Mylon Z, who guarded a crystal sword in the ribbon room, but then you also had Valvalis next door, CPU at Ogopogo, and Golbez at Wyvern.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very fun. Yeah, that does not sound very fun. And that Golby sitting out there, I think we had, I think I still had Hulk Gauntlet out there somewhere, and I wasn't sure where that was and where Golbez was. I was like, I don't want to see either of these. I guess Hulk Gauntlet kind of would have been okay because of the experience, but yeah, depending where.
Yeah, I am curious, how did you feel when you saw Fusoya on that Lunar Diarist from the free Darkness Crystal?
It didn't feel so bad in terms of like not checking that right away, because I don't think it made a huge difference. But one thing it did do is I probably did a bit more grinding than I would have otherwise, because you just don't really need as many levels with Fu. You can replace Rosa with him and go like that. But yeah, it felt like I maybe could have gained maybe a minute if I had taken him, but it's kind of a wash in terms of how my party got really strong and was able to just stop Pale Dim at that spot, and then also be very safe on the DKC fight, and then make Ceramus look like a fool with Quint Zerker stress, so which is always fun to pull out.
I was going to ask, at what point did you decide that Quint was Quint safe, or was Quint fleck?
A bit of both, I suppose.
Rex, do you have any questions for Dusty?
I think you went over most of what I wanted to know. I guess, like, you got that kind of superpowered start with that Earth Crystal right off the bat, and that was a pretty favorable treasury that you started with. But when you got the characters up at the top of the Tower of Zod eventually, you still wanted to keep Porum at that time, and I just wanted to walk through your decision-making process as to when to ditch Porum, because you eventually did for that Cecil.
Yeah, it was basically Porum was my Zerk machine for most of the early part of the seed, and I kind of leaned into that, even with Hobbs, because honestly, picking up Porum at Hobbs super early doesn't do a whole lot for you, but once she hits that level 18, which she will off of the overworld checks, you have someone that can cast Circ and make your fight so much faster and smoother. So just leaning into that, and I kind of knew I wanted everyone else in the team long term.
Right.
Sid being such a good anchor and already having weapons for Edge and Kane, and also Rosa just being always a good character to have on your team. So it kind of made sense at that point to be like, I don't really need these other characters. I don't think they'll really make me any faster.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. Well, go ahead.
Oh, no, I agree. That makes total sense. I just wanted to thank you for joining us, and thank you for letting us watch another one of your races. This was very well played, Dusty.
Thank you both so much. I appreciate you both commentating this one, the Restream team, and GG's to PK. I'm sure this was a really fun race to watch, and I can't wait to watch it back.
This was definitely a heart-pounding race, and I cannot blame you for wanting to watch it back. One final question I have before we let you go. At 5-0, how are you feeling going further into brackets? Both of you have placed, but you do have that guarantee that you will not be having to play at a game disadvantage.
Yeah, I was gonna say surprised, but at this point I'm feeling pretty comfortable again. So I'm feeling good. I feel like this race was probably my strongest of the tournament so far, which is I'm really happy with. There's a couple things I definitely could have improved on, and there always will be. But yeah, I feel like I'm kind of getting back to form a little bit. I think I've said that the last couple races, but I really think this is probably like as good as it gets for me for execution and stuff. So this
well, and you kind of needed it because if like PK was right on your heels, if you had slipped up a little bit somewhere, you might not have gotten that win tonight. But it was really fun to watch.
Exactly. You can't just give up time to a player like PK because he'll snatch it from you. So
I agree. This is definitely a fantastic race. Thank you for being part of it. And with that, I guess we'll let you go now.
Yeah, thanks, folks. I appreciate it. And yeah, GG's.
GG's. Congratulations on your victory. And that was Dustygriff, and we'll soon be being joined by the second place finisher of this very strong running from PK. And I believe we're joined by PK now.
You are.
GG's on that race, PK. That what part of that seed stood out the most to you out of curiosity?
I'll say when I came out of that D-Lunars fight, I felt behind.
Chat actually mathed it out. You were 3 minutes and 37 seconds behind Dusty.
Yeah. And just coming right out of that, like knowing that I didn't get the double veil off, I totally forgot I had the pan. I was routing very weirdly because I was like, okay, I'm behind. What am I going to do? And I was like, no, go check go check the pan, go do these things. So it just was, it was one of those, like, if I get the double frog there, I just feel way, even coming out of that fight because it's Dusty. Like, you have a pretty good idea if you make a mistake that you're not going to be even anymore. So
Dusty had actually lost a bit of time on the overworld to you because he stopped after looting the Torian treasury and checked the item shops and purchased a few extra star veils, which allowed him to go and do a triple veil. And that was the main thing I think that gave him. He was able to go and get a double frog because he had 3 veils up in that fight.
Well, the back one veiled or frogged itself, so it was a 2. It was a double shot for the second one, also frogging itself. But I mean, rando's gonna rando, but that definitely informed some of my decision making. But as I was saying in the chat, I managed to get those 5 underground moon checks with the relative certainty that if that paid off, that I would have the lead.
Yeah.
So I'll take having 5 checks to technically potentially beat Dusty like in a race any day of the week.
Yeah, you were up on total checks. Dusty did go and do Baron and the dolls. The dolls and Famarsh were what had adamant. We're actually very interested to see, because you went to the dolls a bit later than Dusty, if you were going to go and take that dolls fight after after Dusty had finished Baron, and might have been skipping dolls to go to the moon. And then you both did what we thought the other was going to do.
Yeah, I don't like the dolls fight there unless I have a big AoE damage. Like, okay, I can start, I can hourglass it, I can zerk up, but it just feels really, really slow. And again, it's one of those like, okay, I'm racing Dusty. If this doesn't pay off and Dusty doesn't do it, then I'm behind, X amount of time. But I think if we math it out, like even if because it was the amount of time it would have taken me for that was the adamant, right?
Yeah, that was the adamant.
I don't think that, like, because the legend sword I think came from the crystal sword altar.
Yes.
Like I don't think the difference in time between even that the wipe with the DKC fight was enough. It would have put me closer, but I highly doubt put me 3 minutes and 14 seconds closer.
Yeah, it would have been very, very close if, even if it's just that top altar was the legend sword and the crystal sword altar was the pink tail. And Dusty also got paid out by Cave Bahamut, giving him the pass, which was very unfortunate for you because you were up on checks. Dusty did go and check Baron, which ended up paying out nothing.
But Baron never has anything in it to begin with. I don't know why anybody goes there.
Oh no, excuse me. Baron had an Avenger, which was rather convenient.
Fair, that does count as something. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Maybe I need to start throwing up a third veil against those Lunars, but I was it's like, okay, I got White Spear Kane, I got Bacchus Wine, like how big of a issue are these D-Lunars going to be? And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is a big issue that I'm going to have to work on.
Yeah, the D-Lunars definitely did not go and play nearly as nicely for you as they did for Dusty.
Well, that's a game. Congratulations, Dusty. I've been asking for, I want to play the champions of the previous tournaments. Just, everybody's very good at this, but just, I'm in here to have fun.
Oh yeah.
And the bigger the matchup, the more I can, get to play the people who, are on my bucket list for tournament 1v1s. The happier I am, and so I had a great time.
And this is a very close matchup. You honestly just had a lot of bad luck with how the bottom of the moon not only not really paying out in terms of key items until you got to the crystal sword altar, but also the rudeness of the bosses you had to deal with at the bottom of the moon. You had to deal with Belvalis, CPU, and Golbez.
Yeah, Unlimited Spoon helped a little bit there, but it just not quite enough. It's what it's gonna be, and I don't regret any of my choices except those darn dragons not turning both of themselves into frogs.
Yeah, those D-Lunars just really stubborn sometimes about going and how they're gonna reflect that breath. Rex, do you have any questions for PK?
I think we went over most of what I wanted to talk about, so I just wanted to say once again, GG's. This was a really fun race from both of you, and I wish you luck in the rest of the event.
Rex, I'm sorry, Rex. I couldn't carry my win over you into a win over Dusty, so you could transitive property a Dusty, tie. But go ahead.
That's why I was rooting for you, but.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm really looking forward to watching it back. Baka and Rex, thank you so much for the comms. I'm looking forward to listening to it. Gundam, thank you. Not really, but thank you for restreaming. The speed could have gone slightly better. And Pasu for clicking all the buttons. Much love and thanks, everyone.
Thank you, PK. GG's, and looking forward to seeing your next race. And that was our second place finisher, pk4787. Just a blazing fast race. This was both these runners clearing 23 to 24 spots almost on the seed, just blazing through it in sub-hour 30. That is an amazing time to go and have on these flags.
They were given some really good characters and some really good gear, especially early on, and that really helped kickstart this into a really fast seed, even though we saw the vast majority. Like, I think the only boss spot we didn't see, well, other than like the giant and some places that you don't have to go, was that, like, the really interesting place that we didn't see was the sealed cave. We saw so much of it in so little time. Just goes to show you how good these runners were tonight.
Oh yeah, this was. If you didn't see all of this, feel free to watch it back from the beginning, because this was a great show by both our runners. Not even 5 minutes between them. Different checks to it, still coming to the same objectives, but this is just a fantastic race.
Yeah, and now what I believe we're going to do is send you on over to Big Dunka. I want to thank everybody for watching today. Also, one last thank to Gundam for the restream, Possum on the buttons, my co-commentator Baka Shinobi, and I hope you all have a good evening.
And a special thank you to you as well, Rex, for joining me, because wouldn't be able to put on half as good of a show without you here with me.
Aw, that's so sweet. All right, take care, everybody.
Have a great evening.
Yes, and as Scala said, don't spoil.
Yes, do not. Just let people know this is a great race. Don't let them know what the results were.